Worked in both the US and Canada. Probably one of the largest monthly income sources you're going to have in retirement is your US Social Security benefit. Today, we're going to talk about just how much you should expect to receive from the US Social Security as a cross-border retiree. Hi there, my name is Brian Haggard. I'm a certified financial planner, chartered financial analyst, and I'm the founder of Retirement and Financial. We help simplify your cross-border retirement plan. And retirement planning is really difficult when you've lived and worked in both the US and Canada because you have Canada pension plan you have to navigate, you have your OAS benefit in Canada, you have your US Social Security benefit down here in the States. But the truth of the matter is, most of the families that I've worked with that have lived in both the US and Canada get quite a bit more per month from all of their benefits combined than just somebody that typically works only in the US. And today we're going to go through and talk a little bit about what that US Social Security benefit is going to look like for cross-border retirees. We're going to talk about what's an example of what you may receive based on how long you've lived here in the US, how much you've earned here in the US. We're going to talk about that dreaded WEP reduction and what that may mean for you, what something might actually lower your Social Security benefit a little bit. And then last but not least, we'll talk about how the spousal Social Security benefit works as well. So a little bit, let's start off by talking about how to actually qualify for a US Social Security benefit. So a little bit about US Social Security. It starts as early as age 62. We've probably all heard of US Social Security, right? It's that monthly check that you're going to get from the US government. And traditionally, in order to qualify, if you've only worked in the US, if you haven't worked in Canada before, you have to have worked in the US for at least 10 years in order to qualify for a US Social Security benefit. However, it's actually a little bit easier to qualify for a US Social Security benefit if you lived and worked in both the US and Canada. As long as you have lived and worked in both the US and Canada for at least a combined 10 years, there's a good chance that you're going to qualify for a US Social Security benefit as long as at least a year and a half of that work happened here in the States. Now, that being said, the longer and more that you've paid into Social Security, the higher your benefit is going to be. So you might have only spent a couple of years here in the States, maybe you didn't even earn a lot of money. You may still qualify for a US Social Security benefit. There's a good chance it's going to be probably a pretty low Social Security benefit. Now, that being said, we're also going to talk about spousal Social Security benefit in this presentation as well. You may have never worked a day in your life. You may not even live in the US. You may still qualify for a Social Security benefit through your spouse. We're going to talk a little bit more about that coming up. So, how much might you receive in US Social Security benefits? I mentioned before that it's really based on how many years you've worked in the States and how much you've earned in the States. You can see I ran this calculator at SSIA.gov, and I put in a lot of different examples. I put in from somebody who's worked in the States and earning $25,000 a year for only 10 years, and I put somebody in here who's worked for 30 years and earned $150,000 a year. Now, all of these benefits assume that you are going to turn on your Social Security benefit at your full retirement age, which in this example is 67 years old. We'll talk a little bit about if you turn it on earlier or if you delay, how that impacts your benefit as well. But you can see that if you've been here for a shorter period of time, maybe you've only lived here for 10 years, you've earned $25,000 a year, your benefit would be about $600 a month at age 67 or a little bit more than that. Now, you can also see if you've been here for 30 years and you've earned $150,000 per year over the last 30 years, that would be your maximum Social Security benefit or pretty close to it. In that example, you'd actually earn over $3,500 per month. So I wanted to show this. Everybody's a little bit different, but at least you might have an idea of what your Social Security benefit will look like based on how long you expect to live here in the States and how much you're currently earning. Now, again, this assumes that your earnings are constant for 10, 20, 30 years. That's probably not the case, but hopefully at least give you an idea of what your benefits may look like and how they change based on when you started working in the States, how long you've worked there, and how much you've earned. I tend to find sometimes we get the question, well, Brian, how if I only work here for 5 years and then move back to Canada, right? Or maybe I've moved here late in my life and then retired. I tend to find that a person gets, somewhere between $50 to $150 per month per year worked based on how much money they've earned. So, maybe somebody's only worked here for 5 years and they may get between $300 and $800 or $900 per month if they've been here for a shorter period of time, of course, than 10 years. So what happens, how does Social Security change based on when you turn it on? So Social Security starts as early as age 62, but you can delay it and grow it all the way up until age 70. Now, the government says that your full retirement age is somewhere between 66 and 67. For most of us, anybody born 1960 and beyond, your full retirement age would now be 67. And that's kind of the math that I'm using for this video, is assuming that your full retirement age will be 67 years old. Now, if you turn on your benefit early, if you turn it on at 62, you get roughly a 6% reduction per year if you start the benefit early. And if you delay your Social Security, you can delay your Social Security all the way up till age 70. You get about an 8% increase per year if you delay it past full retirement age. And that doesn't mean, if your full retirement age is 67, you don't have to wait till 68 to get that 8% increase. It does go up every single month for you. So every single month that you delay Social Security, your benefit does go up, but it equals 8% increase in a year. So let's talk about somebody who their full retirement age is 67, and we'll just say that they've earned a $2,000 benefit at that full retirement age. If they turn on Social Security at 62, they would get roughly $1,400 per month. You can see at their full retirement age, which is 67, they would get $2,000 per month. And if they delay Social Security all the way to 70, you can see they're going to get over $2,500 per month. So there's a big difference turning on Social Security at 62 and getting $1,400 per month, or waiting till age 70. You can see you get over $1,100 more per month by waiting on your benefits. So you might say, well, that's a no-brainer. I obviously should wait to get the highest amount of Social Security. I'll also tell you that's not always the case. A lot of our clients, quite honestly, we suggest that they turn on their benefit prior to age 70. Not everybody, but even a lot of times when you run the plan, it looks better for them to turn on Social Security at age 67 versus 70. Some of our clients even turn it on at age 62, because the longer you delay, if you're retired, you have to start drawing money from other assets, and maybe you're better off taking money from Social Security and letting your other assets grow. So a lot of things to consider there, but when you turn on Social Security is obviously one of the biggest things that we do or help with our clients with. So the bad thing about Social Security is this thing called the WEP reduction, the windfall elimination provision reduction. And unfortunately, if you've lived and worked in both the US and Canada, there's a good chance that you are going to have a reduction to your US Social Security benefit because of your Canada pension plan. Now, don't shoot the messenger. There's actually, I've done some YouTube videos about this. There is some legislation out there to potentially eliminate or get rid of WEP. We're hopeful that that passes, but right now we're still planning on it not passing. Not because we're pessimistic, but these bills have been out there in the past, and they unfortunately have not gone through. Certainly the bill that's out there right now is probably further along than we've seen it, but it's still something that we have to deal with. So what is WEP? Like I mentioned to you, It reduces your U.S. Social Security when you have a U.S. Canada, when you've lived and worked in both the U.S. and Canada, and you have a Canada pension, or if you have an private pension up in Canada as well, it will also impact you. Now, it only impacts you if you have less than 30 years of U.S. work. If you've worked in the US for 30 years, you will not have a web reduction, or you shouldn't have a web reduction. It starts or it's applied when you turn on both your Social Security and your CPP. So if you turn on your CPP early and delay your Social Security benefit, the web reduction doesn't start until you turn on that Social Security benefit. Or vice versa, if you turn on Social Security first, it wouldn't start until you turn on CPP. It does not apply to your OAS benefit, your old age security benefit in Canada. It only applies to your CPP benefit in Canada. So the obvious question is, how much is my WEP reduction going to be? Now, there's two parts of the WEP reduction. There's the first part is, how large is your Canada pension plan? And the second part is, how many years have you worked here in the States? So first of all, let's talk about what the maximum WEP reduction could be. The maximum WEP reduction for 2024, if you have less than 20 years of US work, could be up to $587 per month. Yes, you could lose $587 per month to your US Social Security benefit because of your Canada pension. Now, a lot of people will say, well, Brian, I'm just never going to turn on my Canada pension because it's not nearly that large. I'd lose all of it plus some. Well, don't worry. The other part of this equation is that you can't lose more than half of your CPP benefit. So whichever is lower, you either lose your maximum WEP reduction or half of your CPP benefit, whichever is lower. And as you can see, as you approach 30 years, you would have no WEP reduction at some point. So let me give you a little bit of an example of this, okay? We're going to say that Ed starts collecting Social Security at his full retirement age, that his CPP benefit is 500 Canadian per month, which equates to, we'll just say $375 US dollars per month. And his Social Security benefit is $2,000 per month. He has less than 20 years of work here in the States. Now, traditionally, if somebody has less than 20 years of US work, as I mentioned to you before, the maximum WEP reduction could be $587 per month. But again, he can't lose more than half of his CPP benefit. His CPP benefit is only 375 US dollars. Therefore, his WEP reduction would be half of that, which is 188 US dollars, which means that his total Social Security benefit after the WEP reduction would not be $2,000, it would be about $1,800 per month. Now, if you delay your Social Security benefit past your full retirement age, it is possible that that WEP reduction can also grow as well. Just something to be mindful of. So the WEP reduction could exceed more than half of your CPP if you do delay your Social Security past full retirement age. So that is the negative of Social Security. But I also want to talk about one of the positives of Social Security. It's the benefit a lot of people get surprised about, and it's the spousal Social Security benefit. A lot of people are shocked to find out how large the benefit that they may have as a spouse, even a spouse who's never even worked in the States potentially. So how does the spousal Social Security benefit work? As long as you're married for at least a year and you're married to somebody who's eligible for a Social Security benefit, if you're living in either US or Canada, you may be eligible for a spousal Social Security benefit. Now, we're going to talk in a minute about what that may look like, but a couple of things about this spousal Social Security benefit. You must be at least 62 years old to collect that benefit, and you can't collect it until the working spouse or the higher working spouse turns on his or her benefit. And how it ultimately works is you either get your own benefit or half of your spouse or up to half of your spouse's benefit, whichever is higher. So maybe you've worked in the States, but maybe you've worked just minimally in the States. We see this a lot with our clients, right? The family has moved down to the States for one of the family members a job, and that other family member a lot of times stays at home, doesn't work as much. Maybe they aren't even eligible to work because they don't even have the visas available to them. But for whatever reason, that person may not have worked much. They may have earned their own Social Security benefit, but the spousal benefit, up to half of their spouse's benefit, might be substantially larger. And as a result, they would collect that spousal benefit instead. So they give you kind of the break even to see which one ultimately is higher for you. So let me give you a little bit of an example of what a spousal benefit looks like. So let's say that you're married to somebody and let's say you've just never worked in the States at all, right? That you have no benefit, just to make this as easy as possible. But the person that you're married to has earned a $2,000 Social Security benefit at his or her full retirement age at age 67. Now, if you turn on your spousal Social Security benefit at 67, you are going to get exactly half of the worker's benefit. So if your spouse has earned $2,000 per month at 67, you turn your benefit on at 67, you will get exactly half of that, which is $1,000 per month. If you turn your benefit on 62, you are going to get locked in. You're going to get a penalty for turning on your benefit earlier. So instead of you getting $1,000 per month, you would only get $700 per month in that example. Now, the other thing that's really important to understand here is that you don't get any benefit by delaying your benefit, right? As we talked about before, if you're a worker, if you've earned a Social Security benefit, your Social Security benefit goes up by about 8% per month every month that you delay your Social Security benefit. That is not the case at the spousal benefit. The spousal benefit is always locked in. The most that you can ever get is half of your spouse's full retirement age benefit. This is really important when we're planning for a couple and we're planning for the retirement. It really matters if one spouse is losing $1,000 a month because the other spouse is delaying Social Security. We have to really look at that and say, does that make sense to us, right? Long term, it's a lot of money to be giving up. It might, but it's just something that we want to be mindful of. Now, there is not an additional WEP reduction on the spousal benefit. You get half of your spouse's benefit. So if your spouse had a WEP reduction, theirs was already be reduced, yours would be reduced as well, but not on top of that. I'll give you an example here in just a moment. So let's just kind of put it all together to kind of give you an example what this might all look like. So again, let's just say that you have earned a $2,000 per month Social Security benefit. That $2,000 per month would be pre-WEP. And we're just going to say that, like that example that we used previously, that there is a WEP reduction. They have earned a $375 US dollar CPP benefit. And as a result, they're going to get a WEP reduction of half of that, or $188 per month. So the after WEP workers' benefit would be $1,812 per month at full retirement age, at age 67. We'll also just make the assumption that the spouse turns his or her benefit on at full retirement age as well, at 67. And again, he or she would be eligible for exactly half of that benefit at full retirement age. And so the total family benefit between both spouses in this example would be about or just over $2,700 per month. Again, if both spouses started at full retirement age. It could be more or less than this if both spouses decided to either delay Social Security or start Social Security earlier than that. And again, that spousal benefit, I'm assuming that that spouse has earned less than $900 overall in his or her own benefit. If they did get his or her own benefit was over $900, they would collect that benefit instead. So I know this can be a lot of information, but the things that I would start if I were you and you wanted to start to figure out what to do here is first go out and figure out what you qualify for. Do you qualify for Canada Pension Plan? How much is that going to be? Do you qualify, or what's your Social Security benefit going to look like? What's your OAS benefit going to look like? Social Security is pretty easy to get the estimate, especially if you're here in the States already. You can just go to ssa.gov. If you haven't already, you can create an account there, and it will tell you what your Social Security estimates would be. In order to get CPP estimates and OAS benefits a little bit trickier, especially if you're here in the States, if you've been here a long time, pretty good chance that your internet access to that information is now gone. And so if you want to get those, you would want to call Service Canada directly at the phone number provided there. From there, you'd want to determine what your WEP reduction would be, and then create a strategy for turning on your CPP, your Social Security, and your OAS. Now, certainly you can do that yourself. We have a lot of people that we know that are kind of like to do it yourself, financial planners or investors. That's perfectly fine. If you're looking for assistance, this is what we help our clients with. We specialize in cross-border financial planning. We help our clients understand when they can retire and what's the best strategy for turning on CPP, OAS, Social Security, not to mention determining tax strategies for withdrawing RRSPs and LIRAs and things like that. We are a fee-only financial advisor. There's no sales or commissions. We have everything from one meetings available to ongoing financial planning and investment management, you name it. We have a service that would be right for you. You can learn more at retiremitten.com. If you find this helpful, please like and subscribe our page. Thanks very much for listening. Bye now.